Trump's Epstein problem is not going away. The cover-up continues. I mean, he's not going to release anything that he doesn't want to release. The statute passed by Congress, notwithstanding. And that statute itself contains language that he and Pam Bondi can use to withhold, anything they want. So it specifically says in there that the reasons that you can withhold information, one of those reasons that they can use right now is if release of any information would jeopardize an ongoing investigation. That was the entire purpose of Trump and Bondi opening an investigation and appointing the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York to lead that investigation. They saw where this was going, that they couldn't stop this legislation, and that they were going to have to pretend to support it for political reasons. That's why they put this into place, so they could use that as an excuse for withholding information. So you have that built right into the law. They can also withhold information that's classified, so Trump can classify stuff and withhold it that way. We also know that they're going to redact the hell out of these records, maybe destroy records, maybe records have already been destroyed. But regardless, the cover-up is going to continue, which is, frustrating for us, those of us who are trying to expose all of this and expose whatever Trump's involvement was, which I believe is really bad. I mean, the extent to which he has engaged in this cover-up, it just tells me that he believes, and I believe this to be true, he believes that whatever it is that he's trying to cover up, if it were to come out, that it would destroy him. I believe it's that bad. I believe that he believes it's that bad. And that's why we are where we are. If it wasn't that bad, he would have just released it all. Because he's survived. God, this guy has survived countless things that would have destroyed anyone else. He survived inciting a violent insurrection against his own country, right? So he can survive a lot. If it was just bad, embarrassing, whatever, he could have just released it, had a couple of days worth of bad news coverage, maybe bomb Venezuela to distract from the whole thing, and we'd move on. He would survive it. But he's not doing that. This Epstein thing is even ripping his MAGA base apart. He's doing great damage to himself. The only explanation for that, seems to me, is that whatever he's trying to cover up is so bad, as I say, that he believes it would destroy him. So the cover-up's going to continue, which means this is going to remain a story and dog him probably for as long as he's in office and maybe beyond. And so I was reading an article in The Hill a little while ago, and this just proves the point that this is a problem that's not going away. I mean, if he thought that, oh yeah, we'll just sign this and then we'll stonewall and we'll cite the ongoing investigation to withhold stuff, but we'll release a bunch of stuff and that should shut everybody up and then we can move on. If that's what they're thinking, that ain't going to happen. And this Hill article was quoting a bunch of Republican senators who were warning, they were warning Pam Bondi, but really implicitly also warning Donald Trump, that they better not attempt to cover this up. They better not play games and try to cite this investigation as a reason to withhold information from the public. And they said, some of them said things like, you can do the investigation, but that's not a blanket excuse. Just because there's an ongoing investigation, there's things you can do to safeguard your investigation while still complying with this statute we just passed. and releasing this information. So we're not going to accept you refusing to comply with this statute and release the information by citing this ongoing investigation. This was Republican senators, even senators like John Kennedy from Louisiana, constantly on Fox News, constantly kissing Trump's ass. Even he was warning about that. This is a big deal because it means that this is not going to go over with even Republicans in Congress. And this, to me, goes to a point that I raised as a possibility yesterday. And that is, I'm starting to think, because I've told you that a lot of Republicans, elected Republicans in Washington, even though they support Trump, they kiss his ass, all of this stuff, they defend him, most of them hate his freaking guts. They hate that they have to defend him. They know the same things we know about Donald Trump. They know he's a criminal. They know he is a despicable human being. But they have defended him and gone along with him because they feel that they have to. I mean, they're cowards. And so they refuse to do the right thing. Instead, they do the political expedient thing. They worry only about their own political careers. So this is not a defense of them in any way. But they defend Trump. They do all this MAGA shit because they feel they have to in order to stay in power. That if they break with Trump, if they don't defend him, if they criticize him, God forbid, the MAGA cult base of the Republican Party will turn on them. They'll lose a primary. Trump will target them for a primary challenge, and they'll be destroyed. They'll be run out of the party. They'll lose their power. And so they go along with this shit, but secretly they hate his friggin' guts and they want him gone. They wished that Merrick Garland had gotten off his ass and done what he should have done. They wished that Donald Trump had been convicted and sent to prison and had not been the Republican nominee and had not won re-election, that they had nominated someone else. And right now, I'm telling you, many of them hope for something to take this guy out. They would much rather be headed into the midterms and into the 2028 elections with J.D. Vance as president rather than Donald Trump, because they know that Donald Trump is destroying their party politically, and they want him gone. And so the fact that they're saying this, the fact that they voted almost unanimously, every member of the Senate voted for this Epstein release bill. The fact that all Republicans were on board with this except one guy in the House. Why? Is it just for PR because they know the public wants the files released and they don't want to be on the wrong side of that? Or is there something more to it? Now, I don't think the reason is the same for every one of them, but I'm starting to believe that a lot of them want this stuff released because they believe what you and I believe, that there's something in there that could destroy this piece of shit, and they want him destroyed. And so they hope that this stuff comes out. They hope it takes him down. I'm honestly starting to believe that that's the case. And as to this cover-up, Trump, it's not going to be as easy as they may think it is. That, we can just cite this section of the statute, which allows us to withhold stuff if there's an ongoing investigation, which now there is, or national security or classified information, whatever. That's not going to do it. And redacting, right? Because we know they're going to redact the shit out of these documents, right? We'll get an entire document that's completely blacked out except for the word "the" in the middle of the page or something like that. That's not going to fly. Every redaction will be a confession. Every redaction, because they don't care about protecting anyone. They don't care about protecting victims. They don't care about protecting anybody. Now, the victims are specifically protected by this statute. That information has to be withheld or redacted. But I'm just saying, other than that kind of stuff, any other redactions, like they wouldn't redact to protect anyone else because Trump doesn't care about anyone else. He only cares about protecting himself. So these redactions are going to be scrutinized. If a document comes out with redactions, people are going to pore over that document, try to figure out what was redacted, cross-reference it with other stuff. I mean, it's going to get more scrutiny. And they're going to be, everything is going to be so heavily scrutinized, calls for complete production. Everything's going to be questioned. Why did you redact this? This is not going away. And redactions and withholdings, when even Republican senators are warning, don't you dare be withholding stuff you shouldn't withhold. That's not going to fly. When even Republican senators are warning Trump and Bondi about that, it just tells you that it's not going to work. It's not going to satisfy these people. They're not part of your cover-up, at least not all of them. And by redacting, by withholding, by trying to cover up, by trying to suppress this information, it's only going to keep it going. This story is going to be front and center until it is resolved. It's not going anywhere. This is going to be a headache for Trump, a huge problem, a huge liability, which will continue to tear his base apart over this issue. And they've got other issues that are tearing them apart. Chief among them, the fact that their cult leader is so wildly unpopular, and they can see that they got a real problem with this guy as head of their party going into the 26 midterms and beyond. Well, they got a lot of problems, but this Epstein thing is going to continue to be one of them, maybe the biggest problem that they have going forward. And the attempted cover-up is only going to keep this going, which is why I say whatever he is trying to cover up must be really bad, because he can end this whole thing as an issue just by releasing everything. But he doesn't do it, and he won't do it, because whatever is in there would destroy him. Anyway, just something to think about. Thanks for watching.